first of all, as we've heard, the subjects were subjected to these various techniques, not just at Guantanamo Bay, for example, but the report will also have looked at other locations, secret CIA prisons that were being run in Thailand, for example. So the focus of the report is worldwide, potentially, isn't it?
That's right. There seem to be a number of facilities which the report does not identify by country, but probably at least 4 or 5, where some of these techniques may have been used, as well as a network of other facilities where detainees were transited through and held for periods of time on the way to then being taken to these CIA-run facilities where these enhanced interrogation techniques, as they called them, were visited upon people. And now we have the detailed information about what that meant.
Well, that's right. And that detail being out in the open now will prompt some to worry about the threat to American interests. And I guess one of the areas that US officials are most concerned about is Africa and the Middle East.
Absolutely. I mean, clearly American air power is being used in Iraq and Syria. There are no longer ground forces in Iraq, and certainly none in Syria. But the Americans and the British are still withdrawing out of Afghanistan. Some of the detainees were certainly captured in Pakistan or Afghanistan, weren't necessarily nationals of those countries. Some were. Again, they're not very clear about the nationalities of all the people, although over the last 10 years we've learnt about many of the people who were subjected to these techniques. So I think certainly US interests in certain parts of the world won't be helped by the admission, albeit belated, that these things happened. The counter view, of course, is that this is a democracy in action which is going through this in forensic detail and developing a public debate in America. And this should reassure some countries that the Americans are addressing it.
Well, that's right. And you mentioned Afghanistan. Of course, the Americans with its allies went into Iraq as well, and we heard all about what went on at Abu Ghraib prison. And this is an area that's deeply unstable as well at the moment as well, isn't it?
That's right. And the worrying thing about Abu Ghraib was that this was not a CIA-run facility, but one run by the Department of Defense, by the military, the US military in Iraq. But it seems that some of these techniques that were approved for use against the highest value al-Qaeda targets in 2002, 2003, these techniques were then exported to the campaign in Iraq, which is not what they were designed to do in the first place. And then we ended up with those well-known photographs of mistreatment.
So what can we expect the Americans to do to beef up, if you like, their security? I mean, what about close to our home at the moment, in Europe, for example?
I think for the next few days, certainly US Embassy and consular facilities will probably be on a heightened state of alert. They'll be watching out for whether demonstrations might take place. However, this is necessarily historical. These events and this programme was closed down in 2006, admitted to, and in fact the CIA released all of its detainees or moved them to other facilities.
OK, so Marines in Europe and also in the Middle East as well, likely to be on high alert, you imagine?
Yes, and obviously there are US forces in many parts of the world with communities who may use this as an excuse to vent their frustration. But having said that, you know, the major threat to some extent at the moment still comes from ISIL and their campaign against, in the main, innocent hostages who might be a greater threat at the moment as they seek to, as you know, execute people wearing orange jumpsuits with the suggestion that this is because of Guantanamo. Of course, it's much more complex than that.